All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. Heading back down to the Atlanta area. I feel like I'm going to have to get an apartment down there as often as I visit for these podcasts. Today, we're going to hook up with Mike Zilleox from East Cobb Prime. Mike, welcome to Travel Ball Talk. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Rich. Thank you for having me. It's absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, so oftentimes we have guys who I have relationships with, or even guys I'm really good friends with. And today, the listeners are going to hear us have our very first conversation. So hopefully it goes okay. But if I know a good baseball guy, I'm sure it's going to go. I'm sure it's going to go swell. So, Mike, before we hit record, I told you I'm anxious to hear your backstory, kind of in real time at the same time as our listeners do. So, what I'll do is I'll just give you a moment to introduce yourself, kind of give your background, your baseball background, and tell us, give us that foundation story of East Cobb Prime, how that came to be, and then give us the quick fast forward to where East Cobb Prime is right now.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Rich. Well, a typical young man, baseball player. I grew up in the area of Chicago, Illinois, Des Plaines, as a matter of fact. And, ever since I was 5 years old, I lived and breathed the game. I had an opportunity to play in high school at Maine West, and I went to college at Western Illinois University. So I enjoyed my baseball time in both stops. I began my coaching career actually through my father. He was a very, very good coach in the area, well known in the area. And that's really where I got the basis and the basics of coaching. I began around, I want to say I was 21 years old at the time. Interestingly enough, we were coaching teams that were 13, 14, and 15, so I wasn't much older than some of the 15-year-olds, that were playing. It's a very interesting dynamic. But from there, I was working on my professional career, and it brought me to Atlanta, Georgia. And once my son was old enough to begin playing, I thought the best thing I could do was to go ahead and get involved in baseball with him and help him, develop the skill set in order to continue to play at a high level. So I began coaching him from T-ball on up. And I want to say when he was 13 years old, I got involved with the East Cobb program. And I had an opportunity, at that point to join them. Interestingly enough, I had a game against one of the Astro teams, which is, the number one organization at the East Cobb complex. And we actually won 2-1. At that point, I actually got a call from the gentleman that owns the park and runs the program and asked me to come and join the organization at East Cobb. Which is, Rich, is a very highly touted program. It's the mecca of baseball, if you will. People come from all over to play and participate in the East Cobb program. So from that point on, I have been affiliated with East Cobb. Now it's been 11 or 12 years. I started out, again, at a particular age group, but right now, I am the director of the East Cobb Prime program. We have teams at 15, 16, 17, and 18. I personally coach now the 17-year-old group. That group, just over the past summer, was ranked. They are ranked 12th regionally, which is quite an accomplishment. Which the two teams at East Cobb that are highly ranked are the East Cobb Astros, and they're always in the top three, and frankly, top three in the country. And for us to be ranked nationally, regionally and nationally is quite an accomplishment. So really, when you look at it, it's a great baseball program at the East Cobb complex. There's several different age groups, beginning at 9 years old from a travel ball standpoint. And there's many different opportunities for players at the highest level and players that are just beginning. They have different teams and different programs for all of those age groups. Right now at East Cobb, there's about 110 different teams at those particular age groups. So, again, very, very popular.
That's pretty good stuff. Now that's if I'm not mistaken, that's Gary Baldwin, who's sort of at the top of the East Cobb baseball sort of the entire organization, correct? Coach Baldwin?
Yes, that is correct. Gary has been around. I've known Gary for almost 20 years. Gary's a legend, and I will tell you that because, I believe he began that program somewhere in the 1980s, 1986 or something like that. And he has developed that program over at East Cobb with all of these different age groups, and they're very successful. They have many examples of players moving on that go drafted in the first round, and I'm sure you know all the different players that played at East Cobb. Interestingly enough, it just reminded me as we were talking here. It came up on Sunday. We were actually in a playoff game, and me being a Chicago Bears fan, somebody brought up Justin Fields. Well, actually, Justin Fields, I had an opportunity to coach Justin for about a year and a half, 2 years before he went on to play with Gary. So just, you never know, who you're going to be coaching and, who can turn out to do what and play what. But the athletes at East Cobb are second to none. And that is a tribute to Gary Baldwin.
I wanted to go back a little bit. Do you remember what year you left Chicago for to relocate to Atlanta?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was 1986 is when I got here in Atlanta. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, but you've held on to that Chicago, a little bit of that Chicago accent, so people know you're from around here, but you're not from around here, are you? I bet you get that every once in a while.
I do.
Your son, what's his name?
Zachary.
Phil, catch us up. Is he? I don't know when you started this, but how old is he? Is he out? I mean, part of me thinks he's probably already out of college and a grown man by now.
Yeah, he is. He's 27 years old. He works for Publix supermarkets. He's a department manager in the produce department. He's doing very well. Zachary was a very good athlete. He participated in baseball, and he was an all-state wrestler. So, great kid. He hasn't gotten married yet and provided me with a grandson.
No pressure, no pressure, maybe, Zachary.
Yeah. Somewhere down the line, Rich.
So he was playing. He was on those teams when you joined forces with East Cobb.
That's correct.
And so that must have been like 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that. So if you go,
yeah, it's about 14 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and was it called? Were you guys Prime? Were you just like this local team run by you and your friends named Prime when you ended up joining forces with East Cobb?
Actually, I started out as the East Cobb Renegades.
Okay.
And the name actually fit because it was very tough, to get players. And I think that's one of the things, and I'm sure we'll probably get into that today, starting out as a new coach in a new program, it is very challenging. And so I found that I was getting players that other organizations didn't choose. So truly renegades, if you will. And, I had the opportunity and again, that's really what, our programs at East Cobb are about, is developing the kids, coaching and developing them to be the very best they can be.
I don't know Gary Baldwin. I'm familiar. I've been in the East Cobb complex, obviously, and I'm vaguely familiar with the talented teams that run through there, and so to me, it's like as this the curiosity inside me of how you guys manage to all work together while competing against each other has got to be kind of an interesting dynamic, because in a way you're part of the same organization, but you're also it's like, hey, I want that good player, and so's the other guy. How do y'all sort of manage that kind of relationship inter-organizationally?
That's a great question, and normally, as the cream rises to the top, and Coach Baldwin, he will normally get the most talented players for sure. His program is second to none, the Astro program, but we all have the opportunity to recruit players, not just players that come to East Cobb to try out, but obviously recruit players from all over the United States. I mean, I've had players come and play from Colorado, out in the Northeast, Connecticut. In fact, he's one of my top pitchers, but they're all around the United States. And Gary has players also joining, and people will do anything they possibly can to be part of the program at East Cobb for sure. But it's a tribute again, and I say this, Rich, and I really mean this. It's a tribute to Coach Baldwin and the program he's put together, and the opportunity he's provided other teams and other coaches to be very successful and play travel ball at a very high level. So again, my hat's off to Gary. That man has forgotten more about baseball than I personally will ever know, and I've done this all my life.
Well, you sure are lucky to get to call that complex your home field, or at least get to use it a bunch, and obviously just being right there in the Atlanta area sure does make your summer travel a lot easier, with every team in the country coming down to play you in your backyard. So that sure is nice. I'm sitting here looking at these. I pulled up the East Cobb baseball website, and gosh, there's a bunch of different organizations all underneath that same banner. Whether it's you guys, the Prime, there's the Colt 45s, East Cobb Orange, Astros, Angels, Braves. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody. Blue Devils, Navy. There's a bunch of y'all. It's fascinating, and it's also a testament to just how much stinking baseball is in the Atlanta area, because I mean that's a bunch of different guys, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, really. Because if you go outside the East Cobb organization, there's a bunch of good organizations floating around that Atlanta area. Man,
they're really very, very popular, baseball down here. And obviously the reason is you can play it all year round, and the competition is incredible. And you hit the nail on the head, Richard. There's people all around the United States that travel there to play during the summer. And it is a benefit where, we can stay home and go home every night, and before we go to the field, and not have to worry about all that traveling and the expense of that traveling.
Which that was a perfect segue. I appreciate you doing that for me, because my next question was going to be about the expense. So a lot of people talk about travel baseball being so expensive, and it's my argument that it's usually not the baseball part; it's the travel part. So you guys do have the benefit of staying home field advantage, sleeping in your own bed and eating home-cooked meals, which saves a tremendous amount of money. But I was looking through your website earlier this morning, and I found a page on here somewhere, and now I'm probably not going to be able to find it because I'm looking for it. Oh, there was something about a fundraiser program, And I wanted to ask you specifically about that because, I've talked about it in the past. As a matter of fact, my last guest was Bob Reichman from the Scorpions, and we didn't want to go down the rabbit hole. The topic of fundraising came up. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole with him, but since I see this on your site, I was going to ask you, what is it that you guys have done in the past? Has it been well received by the parents? And third, has it been successful?
Yeah, I believe it's very successful. I mean, it's going to give opportunities, for several young players that they normally wouldn't have because of the cost. To your point, there is one specific program that I have used, and you and I hit on this a little bit earlier when we were talking, and that is it's a program called Opportunity for Kids, and it's actually run by Jim Lovejoy, who also coaches a program specific for athletes with high academics.
Yeah.
But
pause 1 second. I don't mean to interrupt you, but explain who Coach Lovejoy is, and also who his son is, so that we have sort of a full picture.
Sure. Coach Lovejoy is somebody that had coached at East Cobb for many, many, many years, and his program was the East Cobb Patriots, and he specifically would recruit players that were very high academics and looking to play college baseball, but at colleges where you had to have GPAs in the 3.8s, 3.9s, and 4s, that type of academic prowess. So it's really the only program in the Southeast of its kind. Interestingly enough, his son Tolly Lovejoy happens to be one of my assistant coaches. Right now, he's actually head coaching the 18-year-old group, the 18-year-old prime team. But Tolly has been with me for about 10 years now. And as I said, they have that fundraising program, Opportunity for Kids, that Coach Lovejoy and his wife that they run. And it is a great program. And, the money is sponsored. It sponsors the kids and gives them an opportunity to play because, there are costs involved, obviously, to play travel ball. But I think, what parents have to realize, it's a couple of things. Number one, it's an investment. And I say that because if your son is good enough to play at the next level, and as you know, there's many different levels of colleges, D1, D2, D3, JUCO, those types of things where if a young man wants to play, there's a spot somewhere in the United States for them to play baseball. So, getting a scholarship and being able to, in this particular case, when you're asking me about, Jim Lovejoy, having the ability to get an academic scholarship, there's more money academically than there is athletically in these colleges. So again, I think Jim had the right idea, and it is a very solid program. Is
this something you guys do as a team every year, or is it like, do you guys provide families the opportunity on a sort of an opt-in basis? If you want to offset some of your costs, do this thing and go nuts and good luck.
Yeah, actually, that's correct. We give the opportunity for each one of these young men at our age groups to do that. I'm not sure how many other programs that Jim would support with his program. I know that his program, the Patriot program, and us being the Prime, we have the ability to utilize that program.
It's
really
just the idea of fundraising. Here's what I've seen. A lot of the baseball families will complain that travel baseball's expensive, but then when given the opportunity to fundraise, if it requires a little bit of sweat equity, they usually just say, "Nah, I'm good. I'll just write the check instead." So that's what I'm, mostly curious about is are these, are 90% of the families participating, or is it 1% of the families participating? It's an interesting topic, because I've seen coaches provide all of the opportunities in the world to fundraise and offset their fees, and families just say, you know what, I'm good. I'll just write the check. So I'm glad y'all are doing it, and it was obviously front and center on the website if I found it. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's a great program. It's very easy, and as I said, it's going to provide several young men that have the ability to play at a very high level the opportunity to do that. So A++ for sure.
Well, look, if anybody's listening, and you don't have to run the same fundraiser that the Prime run or that the Patriots are running, but if you want to reach out to Mike and say, "Hey, give me some advice," maybe they can reach out to you.
Sure.
I honestly, I think it's a no-brainer. I think there's such easy fundraisers out there that, I wish more people would do it. It just makes too much sense not to.
No doubt about it.
Got the puppy outside barking his head off. That's what I get for having a puppy. Hey, no, it's only funny unless it's yours. Here's what I wanted to do. I sent you a few questions. These are sort of my new go-to standards these days, and I was thinking we could spend a few minutes on these, with the first one being kind of a softball, kind of warm you up. Although I think you're pretty warmed up by now. So, the first question, I had to rewrite it after I asked a bunch of coaches. It used to be it was just what book do you recommend? And now I changed it, because what we realize is that, people learn in different ways. So I'll pose the question the way it's written now, and that's: what book, movie, website, or anything else do you think every coach should be learning from?
Well, I will tell you that I think, without a doubt, the most comprehensive information that I have seen put together in all of my years of coaching is called the Baseball Playbook, and it's by Ron Polk.
The best.
And I'm sure you know the name Ron Polk.
Yeah, I think I've got a copy of it upstairs.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why I say it's the most comprehensive collection of baseball basics, because it goes over all of planning and strategies that you will ever need as a coach, and it's great, Rich, for all levels. And that's what's so great about the book. I mean, it'll give you, planning out your practices, giving you strategies for games, and it goes through all of that. And again, it's specific to all different types of age groups. So it's definitely something worth investing in for sure.
The funny thing about baseball is the basics are so important that the same basics you do with a 10-year-old team can be done with a college team. You just keep doing the basics, because you got to be really good at those things, and those things are what it's catch the ball, it's throw the ball, it's catch the ball. That's how you play the game. So.
That's exactly right. I'll use the term blocking and tackling, and honestly, I think sometimes we try to make it harder than it really is.
100%.
And that's the great thing about Ron's book. I mean, he talks about just basic, let's just say bunt coverages, for example. I mean, he goes over all of those types of things. And I mean, everything from A to Z, soup to nuts, start to finish. That book will definitely provide you guidance and ideas for sure. I will tell you another, because now it's the age of getting on your computer and surfing the web, so to speak. And I found the best videos for sure. And again, this holds for all age groups, is Ultimate Baseball.
Okay.
And they do a great job going over very basic drills, very basic things, up to things that college players can use on a regular basis. So those would be two of the most dynamic things that I would definitely look at and suggest to those out there.
Great suggestions. And I don't think you're the first person to bring up Ron Polk's playbook. If you are the first one, I tell you what, that would be a surprise, because that's definitely a go-to. Tell me a story of a time, whether some kind of a regret or failure that changed the way you coach for the better, for the positive.
That's a great question, and it's funny because when you posed that question to me the other day to think about, my wife hit me up at dinner, and she said to me, Micah, what are you going to talk about? What is exactly, what's on your mind? And I said to her, I said, honey, if I had a regret, it was probably the way I coached my son many, many years ago. And I say that because I was very hard on him. Yeah. One thing I wanted to make sure is that there was no such thing as daddy ball. Now, I certainly don't want to get into that, but the point is that, I treated him, I was very tough on him. My expectations of him were very, very high. And I learned, really and truly that, every kid's a little bit different. And, they all have a different button that you have to push to motivate them and keep them focused and interested. And after that experience, it really taught me to reflect and say to myself, okay, I think I need to approach some of this a little bit differently. I think there's a lot of coaches out there that tend to coach like a football coach. And I think you might know what I mean by that.
Sure. It's
a little bit different. Coaching baseball is almost, it's almost psychology, if you will. Mm-hmm. This game is more than 90% mental, without a doubt.
Yes,
it's
chess.
All about, absolutely. And when you give kids confidence, you will be amazed on what they can achieve. Really and truly, I think as I look back, it's a regret, but it was also a wake-up call for me as a coach, and it's helped me become a heck of a lot more successful. That's for darn sure.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Does he? You mentioned he, he's a grown man, an adult now. Is he in your area? Do you get to hang out with him?
Yeah, it's interesting. Every once in a while, he comes and takes the old man fishing. And,
there you go.
We spend a little time fishing, and every once in a while, he'll come to the baseball field, and he likes to throw BP, and so he'll throw a little batting practice, and he likes to get a hold of the middle infielders. He was a middle infielder himself, very good second baseman, and so he likes to talk about his experiences and things like that. So I don't get to see him a whole lot, but when I do, we certainly enjoy each other's company.
That's great. That's great. Definitely savor those times on the water with the fishing pole, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So everybody's into their gizmos and gadgets and apps and websites and all those different things. All the tech stuff. Are you guys, as an organization, using any particular tech to either help from a training standpoint or from a marketing and recruiting standpoint?
Well, yeah, actually, we have a facility at East Cobb where there are coaches there that do that have their side gig going doing lessons, and it's the East Cobb Academy. And there's a couple of specific coaches in there. There's one specific for hitting. If you don't mind me, I'll just throw his name out there. Russ Dickerson. You probably have heard Russ's name or know Russ. Russ has done a great job over there at East Cobb over the years, and so now he is he does hitting lessons over there. And there's a few others in there that can be notified specifically to give lessons, whether it's pitching or hitting or fielding. I think from a technology standpoint, I recommend players trying to find a facility for speed and agility, and within that speed and agility opportunity, there's some weightlifting, some weight training, and I think baseball players be very careful. Well, when we say weight training, because the very first thing somebody thinks of is, oh my God, how much can you bench? How much can you lift? And that's not what that's all about. It's building your core. It's building your shoulder muscles and developing those types of things to make you stronger for sure. And the speed and agility, I think going to the right places and having that opportunity is a really, really good thing from a training standpoint.
I agree. I think the speed piece is one of the easiest hacks, if you will. If you go and get with a track and field coach, a strong athlete is going to be able to shave down their 60 time in one session. Yeah. Because it's, if you're a good athlete, it's usually a technique piece. It's let's adjust the arms, let's adjust what you're doing with the hand, let's adjust your foot strike, and it's sometimes some kids it's just an overnight thing. You can drop 0.2. You get with a guy who knows what he's doing, and I've seen the time just get shaven down.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you sound you've started your own program back in the day. You've seen facilities come up from the ground up. What's the one piece of advice you'd give someone who's thinking about starting either their own travel ball organization today or even starting up a facility? What do you tell that person?
Well, I think if they're going to start up a team, one of the things that I would recommend, number one, you have to be patient. It takes time. You're not going to walk into an East Cobb Astro and East Cobb Prime program and become successful overnight. It just doesn't work like that. You have to build up a reputation. So being patient and developing your program is critical, which leads me to the next thing, and that is building that rapport and finding good coaches. I think that the coaching part is critical. Word gets around very quickly about individual coaches that are there to help the kids get better, and every kid learns a little bit differently. So if you can find hopefully a younger coach, let's say, it doesn't have to be younger. God knows I'm old as dirt, but the whole premise is that you have to understand the game, and I think that's important that you're able to communicate that to the players, have that ability to communicate. Another little thing that I would definitely suggest: never turn down someone that's wanting to work out or try out. There's a lot of times where players, you'll get emails that say, well, my son's playing rec ball right now. And the very first thing travel teams are thinking is, well, if he's playing rec ball, he's not good enough to play. You would be shocked on how many young men that I work out that just get done playing rec ball. And they're very solid players. They're athletic, and all they need is an opportunity and a good coach to help them, get that much better and be very successful. I think another thing I would recommend is, build a solid website. And what I mean by that is these days everything is on the web. Everybody's checking the web. That's how we communicate, social media, the whole thing. So people are going to check out your website, and they're going to, gauge their level of interest based on what they see. So if you take the time to provide solid information on your website and, something that they can refer to, those are all things that are going to draw players, to your program. If you're going to start out an organization, I think one of the things that you have to be very mindful of is the cost. Make sure that whatever you're charging, make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze, that what you say is what you're providing. People want to make sure they get what they pay for, and I think that's a big deal. Don't water down your product, and provide the best service that you possibly can. Probably a good idea to have players at different age groups. This way you've got players, let's say if I was a 16-year-old coach, I would want to try to have 14 and a 15-year-old program so these young men can stay with you throughout, their baseball career. They move up with you, they stay with you, they understand your program, the parents are comfortable with you. I'm always a big believer, if the player's happy and the parent is happy, you've got a very successful program for sure. The coaching, I mentioned coaching earlier. Take the time to screen your coaches. Look for coaches that have the ability to communicate. They have solid communication skills, and they have a very good understanding of baseball. And what I mean by that is, are they able to manage the game? Yes, okay, you have your practices, and that's critical. But in order to succeed in travel baseball, because you're going to see a lot of these travel teams, they have a high level of talent. It's pretty evenly matched, but quite frankly, how do they manage the game? And I think that's a critical piece also. I mentioned the website earlier, but if you're going to start an organization, you've got to be able to have somebody on your program that can utilize social media. Again, I'm not a whiz, but I have a couple of people on my staff that are very good about utilizing social media. I actually just started tweeting a little bit, Rich, which is pretty funny.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So you could teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak. So those are just some suggestions that I would have for those that were interested.
That's good stuff, man. By the way, I'm sitting on his website now, on their website, and it looks like it's a league lineup website. Big fan of league lineups. Although I go to the bottom, it's definitely a league lineup, but now it says powered by Stack Sport. Do you have any idea what Stack Sport is?
I personally don't.
Yeah.
We mentioned Tally Lovejoy earlier. Tally Lovejoy and Coach Kevin Anderson, they take care of our website and the social media portion.
Yeah, I wonder if Stack Sport is somehow partnered up with League Lineup. League Lineup is the website provider. Cool. Last question. This question usually kind of opens up, can of worms for some people. If I gave you the magic wand and allowed you to make one change, what do you think you would change within travel baseball that would have the biggest positive impact?
By far the most challenging question. And I go right back to what I said earlier about coaches. Finding reputable coaches. Finding that organization that has coaches, that, number one, again, understand the game. Finding those coaches that can properly prepare players. Our job is to get them ready both physically and mentally, and obviously giving those individuals the opportunity to demonstrate their abilities. That's what coaches are there to do. And being able to communicate those things that they may have done when they were younger, is a skill set. And what I see out there right now in travel baseball, we don't have coaches, as many as there should be, that have that ability to do that and set those kids up for success. Because to me, that is the biggest thing. And, no matter what tournament they're in, I truly believe that when you're giving young men the opportunity to step up, a lot of those young men, if they're properly prepared physically and mentally, they're going to do just that, Rich. They're going to play above and beyond. They're going to step up, so to speak. So, the coaching, to me, I think that's something that is somewhat taken for granted. And, I think some of these coaches need to think of about this program a little bit more than a money grab. Personally, I do this for fun. I have a regular job, but I've been doing this because I enjoy it. I enjoy being around kids and having the opportunity to teach them, to give back to the game, to give back what my parents, my father did for me, and having the ability to play it at all levels and play the game. So that's really how I see it, to be perfectly honest with you. And I hope that doesn't sound too corny, Rich, but
no,
to me, that's a big deal.
Not at all. That was awesome. Mike, this has been fun, man. I appreciate you coming on. East Cobb Prime can be found. I was just on over at leaguelineup.com/East Cobb Prime, and the Twitter, which I was just on, and of course I lost it, is twitter.com/East Cobb Prime. You can go catch up with them, catch up with Mike and Tolly and Coach Anderson. And if you see those guys, make sure you tell them that I said hello. Mike, hang on the line. We'll stop the recording there and hang on the line 1 second.
Thank you, Rich.